Welcome to Chones Party with Kenny. This is actually the first time I am actually on a call with you, and which just says a lot to how willing you are to share, your insights and your experience. So I'm very excited. Yeah, I just reached out to you on Farcaster, and because I keep seeing you talk about interesting things there, and I have more questions, and you said yes to that to come here and talk with us, and yeah, just huge respect for willingness to share like that. So thank you so much.
Yeah, really appreciate the invites. Super stoked to be here and talk a little bit more about SEO today. Really, I mean, anytime people reach out to me on Farcaster, that's my place where I love it because so many people are interested in chatting about different nuances of not even just crypto life, but internet life in general. That's why I love Farcaster as a community. So yeah, when you reached out, like, hey, let's talk a little bit more about SEO. I thought this, yeah, would be a great opportunity.
Yeah, I like Farcaster about that too. There's usually I've met some yeah, just like curious people, right? Like open,
Mhm.
curious. So I since I don't actually know very much about you except that you like say things on the internet that I'm like, wait, I need to know more about that.
Yeah.
So especially because I keep thinking about AI and you talk about
Yes.
SEO. So maybe
Yes.
you can go into your background. So just so I can understand, like, why do you have so many good insights?
Yeah. So I think if we're going back to the roots of my SEO days, it's a long story, but basically, I started off on the internet as well. No, I was hanging out in social media forums, things like that. I was a big Reddit guy back in the day. Uh, but I started off out of college. I had a political science and economics degree, and that's not really a degree where you go out and you're able to get a job super easily. So I was scrapping to get any money I could. And I started off as a freelance writer. So I was doing sports freelance writing for a while. And then I saw, uh, Bitcoin was on the up and up. This is like 2013 era, right? So there was a big bubble in Bitcoin happening. And I saw that there was an opportunity for this place called Bitcoin Magazine, that they had freelance writing opportunities. I was like, hey, I can write about Bitcoin. This is interesting to me. It actually dovetails with that poli sci econ background pretty well. So I started writing articles for Bitcoin Magazine, and that was my first exposure to the world of SEO. Because once you start writing articles on the internet, you start wondering, how do I get people to read this stuff? Right? How do I get exposure to an audience? And I started thinking about, okay, what can I write about that people might search? And back then, that is one of the hardest questions to answer. And so most people just jump to it and they don't do any keyword research and they just start writing about stuff that they think people will type in. So I remember one of my first big wins was that I ranked for I wrote this article on Bitcoin and Marx's theory of history. And I was so proud of myself for ranking for, if you went to Google and you searched for Bitcoin and Marx, right? I was the top result there on Bitcoin Magazine. Um, but now looking back, I would think to myself, well, Kenny, nobody types in Bitcoin and Marx on Google. So I don't know if that was the biggest win, but that was the first exposure. And so I've always, my career has kind of run parallel to crypto because of that early exposure, but the market crashed right in like 2014, 2015, and I'm in my early 20s. I'm realizing, hey, you need to get serious. You need to find a real job, and I actually, well, this is quote unquote a real job because my step up there was I'm going to go work at a e-cigarette company, an e-commerce e-cigarette company. This is called Mount Baker Vapor, and they were actually the biggest. online e-cigarette retailer back in the day. But I was able to get in there partly because of the writing that I'd been doing. I'd had an article in Vice Motherboard that
Mm.
was actually an interview with a dark web drug dealer, uh, which was very fun. And that was how I got hired at Mount Baker Vapor. I remember the interviewing guy. He didn't care about my college degree. He didn't care about anything else. He was just like, "That's so cool. You interviewed a dark web drug dealer. Yeah, you can work here." Right. So I got into the marketing department at Mount Baker Vapor, and was able to run their blog, and then there was nobody else really uh, doing serious digital marketing there because it was a company of vape heads that they had started up this website and started selling e-juice out of their garage, and they'd gotten big. So it was this wide open space for me to, as a young digital marketer, just step in, and I was the SEO guy because nobody else even wanted to take the time to learn SEO. Now, when I look back, I think about it, and it's like, oh wow, there's so many things that I wasn't doing perfectly well, because SEO is just this. It's a black box for a lot of people. It takes a lot of time and effort to really figure out the best ways to do it, because there's a lot of conflicting information online about it. Which is a bit of a paradox, because SEO is the pursuit of truth online, and it's very hard to find the truth about SEO itself online. But yeah, so that was my first experience doing real digital marketing on a real website, somewhat trying to track the results. From there, I got a job at a digital marketing agency in Phoenix. So the vape company had moved down to Phoenix. I followed the vape company. Vape company ran its course. Things were looking a little bit shaky. And so I decided to jump ship and really focus on SEO as my career. And I went to this digital marketing agency that operated out of actually the Phoenix New Times, which is a weekly magazine. They had a digital marketing branch too. And so I got hired there. Uh, that was a trip in and of itself, because I'd done some SEO, but I didn't have a lot of SEO experience. And I was jumping into this marketing agency, and there was a room of SEOs, and it was very intimidating because, I might have over exaggerated my SEO abilities to be able to get into that room. And I got in, and they immediately, like day one, they handed me a spreadsheet of 20 websites. I was like, okay, go make the numbers go up. It's like, whoa. This is more than I've ever done before. Actually, trying to manage all these different CMSs for these different domains and stuff. Um, but it was great for me. It was trial by fire, and the fun thing about SEO, and the thing about it that makes it something I've enjoyed, is because you can see the results, right? Like I'm a very results focused person, where I got to be able to look at those numbers and see if what I'm doing makes the numbers go up on the screen, right? You were able to monitor Google Search Console for all these different websites, and um, see and really learn quickly. It's like, oh, I did this, and that blog told me it was supposed to work, but it didn't make the numbers go up. And so I was able to fail quickly and get better and better and better. And so over a year in that job, I went from being one of the most novice people at the company to we had some people leave, and they passed off the most important accounts to me, right? So I grinded and grinded. I was working crazy hours at the time, right? But it's my early 20s, and you're able to do that, and you're doing it just because you want to learn it. And so I got pretty good, got handed the most important jobs, most important clients for the agency. And then one of my friends, who he had helped teach me when I first got there, he went to a different company called Victorious SEO in San Francisco, and it was this premier SEO agency, very bougie. And he had got hired away by them. And then he hit me up, and he said that they had some openings there, and asked me if I wanted to come work at Victorious. And it was an obvious step up. So I was like, yeah, let's do it. Flew out, met some people in San Francisco. They hired me, and that was the agency that I worked at for like, actually, I can't remember the years. It was either 3 years or 4 years at all. blends together this career. But that was really where I got a ton of experience. I got to work on some huge websites, huge clients, GoFundMe, SoFi, Craigslist, right? And then just a lot of smaller brands that people, they wouldn't know the names, but it was still large websites doing millions of dollars of e-commerce revenue, and it was fun. It was a great experience, and I got to get a ton of reps in, right, to
Mm.
understand how SEO really works, and yeah, it's experience that I wouldn't trade for anything. Um, the crypto, I've always had this crypto focus too, right? And so now I still do SEO consulting, but a lot of my time is also trying to build this crypto app. And sometimes I think back, it's like, oh man, maybe I should have just gone full time crypto, right? I was right there with Bitcoin Magazine back in the day. But at the same time, I still wouldn't want to trade this SEO experience that I've had because it was so fun to be able to work on so many different websites and see so many different industries and research so many different categories. But yeah, I've been chatting for a bit here, so hopefully that is enough background info to give you a perspective on how I've learned what I've learned.
Yeah, it's actually a super cool background because like it reminds me of how Hunter S. Thompson used to do freelance sports writing. So
Oh yeah, one of my favorites. One of my
yeah.
my favorite writer. Yes.
Um, so yeah, it actually it's funny too because when you talk about comparing like working like oh well maybe I should have done crypto but like you remember like OG Mirror with like absolutely
Yes.
zero discover like you can't discover like there's no search for Mirror right no discoverability
Mm-hmm.
and so it's like now that you have this SEO background the rest of everyone who's excited about like the cryptography, and stuff like that, or the like trustlessness and stuff. We also need people to be able to find whatever we're doing. If you build it, they will not come. So,
Yes. Yes.
um,
Yes. Oh, that's such a good point. And really, I just had a tangent before you say something
yeah,
because I've never thought of this. So one of the biggest lessons that I learned as a SEO, and one of the biggest problems I run into, right, is early 2010s. There was this meme that was taught to marketers of like just write content, write content. You need to be blogging every single day, right? You need to be putting content out into the world every single day. And so marketing teams heard that and they did that. But the problem was that they didn't do any keyword research. They didn't research what are people actually searching for, right? And so I would constantly, when I do audits on websites, I would find these blogs, and these blogs, these marketers had been putting out a blog a day forever and ever. But because they never did any research, that content never found anybody, right? They were just putting out content for the sake of it. And there's a parallel here that happens in the crypto industry where I feel like there's this focus on we need apps, we need apps, we need apps, but it's so much let's just create an app that runs on crypto rails, and there's not really a thought of are real people in the real world caring about this use case and searching for this thing, right? And so much of what SEO taught me is you need to be producing for what there's proof that people care about and they search for, right? So thank you for bringing that up. I've never put that parallel together.
yeah. I think that's why part of why I keep like you keep coming up in my feed and I keep pausing and reading. Um, because it does you do have this perspective that a lot of like crypto people don't think about so maybe you can go into like okay what actually is SEO what can brands do like what are the things that they can do to use SEO to bring attention to whatever they're doing on the internet.
Yeah, so for me, what defines SEO is not, well, the popular, I'll say, what is SEO not, right? SEO is not, you take the content that's on your website and you sprinkle some keywords in there and it makes you show up for the things you want to show up for, right? which is this popular misconception that SEOs, we're doing some math behind the scenes. We're finding the perfect, like, oh, you need to put 5 uses of this keyword here and 7 uses here, and then magically, because we've engineered the algorithm, you're going to pop up. It's not the case at all, right? SEO for me, and the way that I approach it, right, is you need to understand what are the questions that people have that around the service that you provide, right? What are, if you are in an industry, what are the most popular questions that people who may have an interest in your industry or your service search for, right? So it comes down to what we call keyword research, right? And so there are some keywords that get searched a lot on the internet, and there are some keywords that are not searched at all. And so SEO is trying to figure out what are the keywords that people search for a lot. What are these things that the collective hive mind finds important, and then reverse engineering. All right, so how are people searching for these things? And it used to be really easy because it was just Google, right? And nowadays you got AI tools as well, so it gets more complicated. But how are people searching for these things? And then, okay, based on how they're searching for these things, what do those tools want as a resource to give to people, right? Or like, how do you create a resource that is useful for those tools to then serve to somebody? So with Google, it was so much of, and this is an abstract thing for a lot of people to understand. It wasn't so much, I would talk about, hey, here's a keyword we need to go after, and a marketer would say, oh, okay, we want our demo page to rank for that. We have a demo video. Let's make this demo video rank for that. And I would have to tell them, no, I can't do that because Google wants a 3,000 word article, right? So you need to write a 3,000 word article because Google already knows that that's the type of resource it wants to serve to people, right? So Google's figured out what type of resource it wants to serve to people. OpenAI, Perplexity, that's a little bit more tough because, right, they're summarizing your stuff, but even then they still link out to it. So for them, it's reverse engineering. What sort of piece of content do I need to put out in the world to get their attention about that query? So end of the day, is still the same sort of thing as optimizing for Google. It's just changed a little bit. But yeah, that's what SEO is to me. It's figuring out what are the things people care about, what do they care about, what do they type in to search engines on their device, right? That tells you what they care about because somebody wouldn't type something into their device if they didn't care about it. And then how do I produce a piece of content that will serve that purpose, that the answer engine will choose to give to them for that query.
Okay, this is what I mean. Like, you keep dropping these insights. Like, you just expanded my perspective of what SEO is, because when AI started and I caught myself using ChatGPT and then just using whatever it said, I was like, oh shit, SEO is dead. And you're like, actually, it's not really. And then this is what you're saying right here is it's actually how, like, what is the tool? Because, okay, so I want to go into, if you don't mind, like applying SEO and considering AI, because, like, I went to go pick up my cousins from LAX, and I was like, I have to pick up them at LAX at the international terminal, and they're arriving right after rush hour, so I have to cross town during rush hour. So fine, and I need to get gas. So it helped me find the cheapest gas with the best route. And so, like, or like I want to find a pair of shoes that are like a size 9 that, like, please don't give me any pink, or something, you know what I mean? Like, it's like now you find out so much more detail of what people care about. But then you need to interface with a different tool, like it's not a search bar. So maybe you can,
Yeah.
yeah, elaborate.
Yeah, and it's tougher now. So in the late 2010s, right, a lot of we used to do this deliverable for people, right? And it was basically just you have the people want to know, all right, what blog should we write about, right? Because I would have done my audit and I would have told them you have a blog with 100 blogs and 99 of them don't get any traffic because you wrote about stuff that nobody searches for. Let's erase these. We need to write new stuff for your blog that's actually going to bring in content. They'd ask us, well, what do we need to write about? And so I'd do this deliverable that's a lot of different blog topics that they need to write about, which I had, I've done the keyword research on them, and it was provable that that these topics would be the ones that would actually bring in search traffic because it's actually what people search for. Now, a lot of this stuff was informational content, right? It was like the best, you're writing for an e-commerce website, like a women's boutique, right? Like best dress styles to wear in the spring,
Mm-hmm.
right? And this was useful, and maybe you even get a featured snippet on Google and you get a ton of traffic from that. But these sorts of, right, we call them informational queries. This is what's been hit the hardest with AI. So if you were a website that was getting a ton of traffic from this sort of stuff, this is exactly what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Of like, oh, now we just go to Chat GPT for this sort of thing, right? So on that side, that has been a big impact, right? Of where these websites, it's much harder to get traffic for that sort of thing these days. However, at the same time, you have people still searching for, um, service-related keywords, right? Things that if you actually need to buy something, right, that sort of traffic can still drive a lot of resources to your website, and then still, sometimes people do just want to read a real article, right? Like a lot of us that are on the the bleeding edge of tech, right? We have adopted ChatGPT for all these sorts of things, but some people still just want to go to a website, right? So we got to remember that. However, how does ChatGPT, how does Perplexity, how do they know these things, right? They know these things. They come up with these articles by crawling the internet, by finding content, and then repurposing it and repackaging it for people when they search for stuff. So what I am really leaning on is I still do the technical side of SEO, which is optimizing your website for robots that are crawling and organizing your content,
Mm.
right? That's another piece of this. You have the more human side of SEO, which is you need to write blogs and you need to have product pages that people care about that solve problems for human beings. However, if you don't also make sure that your website is crawlable by the machines, then the machines can't present that information to the humans, right? And so a lot of uh, what happened, I do these 100-point technical audits for websites, and it used to be purely for SEO, but the same stuff applies now for generative optimization, right? That you have plenty of great content on your website, and I've seen it with clients that they didn't used to show up for Google's generative AI answers or perplexities. And then we fix the crawling optimization of their website, their content's discovered and crawled properly, and they start showing up in these generative AI engines, right? And it's because fundamentally it's the same process. The AI robots are crawling the same way that Googlebot used to crawl. So it has been good for me in that manner, right? Where like this isn't it's actually becoming even more important to be able to make your content crawlable. And so yeah, those are the two flip sides right now. It's like you're getting less traffic, but also if you do the hard stuff and optimize your website for crawling, you can have some really nice benefits.
Yeah, and I have noticed that like if it's something that it feels nuanced enough that I actually need to double check to make sure, because you can't always trust what the AI tells you.
Yeah.
I mean, finding a gas station is no big deal, but like, how's the best way to pay my taxes? I probably will want it to show me
Mm-hmm.
like who has the best, like where are some resources where I can go and like do some due
Right.
diligence.
Right. And you also have to think about, okay, if you go to the uh, to ChatGPT and you ask it, I live here in Washington State, right? And so I asked ChatGPT, hey, I want the best tax accountants in the Seattle area, right? What are the signals that they are pulling to
That's a good point.
give you that information,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're going to be factoring in the content that they read on the websites of those agents, right? So it still helps the agent in a nuanced manner to have this content that they've produced that influences the bot's understanding of their expertise, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so there's more to it than it's a much harder sort of optimization. I think it's one that I talk about how data driven I am. It's going to be a lot more difficult to source the fact that like, oh, we optimized your website and that drove this person who used a generative agent to then find your name and call you. It's a little bit messy to have that sort of attribution, but at the same time, I know that it's happening, right? I know that these AI agents are coming up with their decisions and their opinions based off what they see on your different web properties, right? So you should have them optimized for that use case.
Do you think like, Google used to just be search and then it added ads? Do you think like Anthropic or like OpenAI AI is going to be like, oh, if you want to be in the blurb or the response that the chatbot replies to people's questions, then you can pay a fee?
Mm. Yeah, I 100% think they will do that, but at the same time, that cuts into user trust so much that I feel like they would. I mean, you talk to a lot of people who browse Google, they just have blindness for the ad spots,
Mm-hmm.
right? I know that I do. You just ignore them. And so I think, and didn't something, I thought there was some press release about OpenAI adding some ads too. And that they might have disclaimers when it happens. But I think it's inevitable that they would do it, but it does hurt the trust so much that it's got to be done in a very seamless way. In a way, I don't mind the way that Google does it, right? They have done some things to lower the visibility and lower signals that it is an ad. They've made, I think the text is tiny at this point telling you that it's an ad, but people still know.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I think overall humans want that organic recommendation, like, and we have a sense for when we're trying to be sold something, and a lot of people don't like that, right? And that's what's made Google search special, and what has made ChatGPT special is it feels organic, and it feels like we're actually getting an insight into um, some very helpful truth. And once you add ads to it, um, it doesn't feel right, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I also think people like to feel like they're in the know. Like I know something. I have the alpha. Okay, so in like let's just say we have a bunch of brands listening, and they're like, okay, here comes AI, and we are learning about SEO, and the goal is attention, right? Do you have like any suggestions? Like, what do you think is coming in as like AI continues to develop, or progress, or whatever we want to call it? It, because it's like, it feels like every month it's something new, and so how do we, like, as a brand, like, think about how we're gonna attract attention, 6 months from now?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the good news is that people have not given up searching on search engines completely. All right. And so if you haven't done, the number one thing you should do as a brand is, if you can set up Google Search Console, you should do that, because Google Search Console is Google's free tool that tells you what people search to find your website. You can
Mm.
see all the keywords that they search, not just your branded search terms, right? If you are a crypto accounting software, you can see exactly how many people typed in quote unquote crypto accounting software into Google, and how many times that your website was visible, how many times they clicked your result. So that's number one piece of advice I can tell you. If you're a brand, you need to have Google Search Console set up, so you can be monitoring what you actually rank for. And then there's lots of other tools as well, that, well, they are paid tools, that you can use. And so I'm a big proponent of Ahrefs and SEMrush, right? And so these are tools that you can pay for their service, and then you can go plug in different keywords into them and see data on how many people search for that specific query on a month to month basis, right? And they're actually adding AI information as well,
Mm.
right? Like, so I think, and the data is pretty messy, right? It's the early days, but you can get some sort of general idea of, all right, how popular is this query on ChatGPT versus this other query, right? Uh, but for now, the good thing is that SEO still acts as this way of measuring what matters to people on the internet, right? Like, let's zoom out completely from SEO being this way to get traffic to your blog about the styles of dresses in spring, and just look at that meta angle of SEO is how we measure what people care about on the
Mm-hmm.
internet. You can
Mm-hmm.
go to trends.google.com, and I love posting screenshots from trends. It's interesting to me. I like typing things in there and seeing, how have opinions about different things changed over the years, right? I think I shared one a couple days ago, which was like searches for help with gambling, right? And which you would assume you can use this as a way of tracking how popular gambling is in society. And we're actually hitting a peak now, at least in the United States, where it looks like a giant cup if you look at the graph. When Google first gives you the data, it was very high back in 2004, and now we're getting back to those highs. And 2004 is interesting because that was somebody responded to me, and they're asking, why was it so high in 2004? And I was thinking about it, and then I remembered it was the peak of online poker back
Mm.
then. It was super popular, and there was all these online poker websites starting up, and there was a crackdown. And after that crackdown, you can see there's this dip, and now it's ramped up of late. 2020 we saw a very big jump, and there's a lot of different things you can try to. Google Trends isn't going to give you the answer of exactly why the graphs look that way, but it's a data point that's super valuable, that we can say, okay, people are obviously searching for this thing more than they were 10 years ago or 5 years ago. Why does that matter, right? And as somebody who loves data, loves societal questions, I think search is very overlooked as that type of resource, right? Again, people just think SEO is this thing that's ruined the internet, but it's very fun if you use it as a data source to ask questions about society and what people are typing into their machines. And so, again, you as a brand, right? Oh, we're shifting to this AI world, right? We're not going to be able to search doesn't matter as well because it doesn't matter what I rank on Google. That's not true because people do still search on Google, and so it's still a statistically relevant source of data about what people care about. And if you know what people care about in relation to your brand, that can help you optimize for AI because you should still be producing content around those questions. And if you optimize so that you're going to show up on Google for those questions, then you can tell your manager, tell your boss that, hey, we're optimized on Google. So we know that the discoverability is there for bots. That should also be doing well for ChatGPT Perplexity. And then you're able to track this stuff in your analytics as well. It's not like it's a complete black box. You can
Mm-hmm.
see how much traffic you have from different domains across the internet. It's just harder to get the exact keyword tracking info for them. But again, the tools are getting better for it. Ahrefs, SEMrush. Um, I'm sure eventually maybe OpenAI will start to make that data a bit more readily accessible. But yeah, that's how you should be thinking about it as a brand. SEO is not completely dead, and there's still so much information you can learn about your customer, right? What do we as marketers want to do? We want to get inside the head of our customer. We want to know what they care about. That's what search data is.
Mm-hmm.
So you should be paying attention to it.
Yeah, and I imagine like Google Analytics, you can have the kind of like dashboard. And I wonder, like, OpenAI will have something like that where you can kind of type in something and see how people are chatting with the
Yeah,
chatbot.
yeah, that would be very cool.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, yeah, I need to pull on that thread a little bit and go down the rabbit hole because I wonder if that's ever going to be made available for brands. And I think it only reinforces their dominance if they do that, right? Like Google made these tools available, and that it was like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like, okay, now because Google made that data available, now you cared about that more and you sent more people to Google,
Mm-hmm.
and it enforced their monopoly a bit. So I
Mm-hmm.
would think that OpenAI would do that because if you start to show people how much traffic is coming in from their tool, they start to value you a bit more.
Yeah. Yeah, totally agree with that. Um, okay, I could keep going, but let's maybe just because I'm trying to keep it at a good time. But you said you were building something crypto, so
Yes.
maybe you can explain what that is and how do we engage with it?
Yeah, so I built this app. The app is called Pics or It Didn't Happen, commonly abbreviated to POIDH. And I used to say the whole thing, POIDH, but people just started calling it POID. And so now that people understand what I mean when I'm saying POID, I just lean on that. But yeah, Pics or It Didn't Happen, POID. It is an app where we run what we call social bounties, right? And uh, it's really a website for incentivizing anything, right? So even though it's photo based, you can use it for, say if you had wanted to convince me to come on this podcast, right? You could have put out a $20 POID bounty and said, "Hey Kenny, like you can claim this if you come on." All right, and
Mm.
how would I claim it? Right, I would like take a screenshot of this podcast, I would upload it, and you'd be able to confirm it. That would pay me, and then it's an NFT collection in a way because when people submit a claim, that claim is minted as an NFT, and you as the bounty creator, you collect that. So uh, that's the high level look at it, right? It's this app where you can incentivize things and people get paid to do those things, and it's all on chain, right? When you create a bounty, that money is deposited on chain, and when I submit a claim, that's a transaction to actually I put that into a smart contract, and all these things, this technical jargon, right? Which it's cool, but for most people, are like, why does that matter? But I do want to highlight more on the social bounty aspect. That's what's really fun about it, is that when you create a bounty, other people can add funds to that bounty. And that
Mm.
is different than anything else you can do when you think about, like, with fiat, right? If you wanted to make a bounty for somebody to do something, and then if other people wanted to add money
Mm-hmm.
on top, there isn't really a tool for that, right? We have these other crowdfunding tools that have been really important to the internet, like GoFundMe, like Kickstarter, right? These ways of pooling capital. But in those cases, it's more of a pull, right? It's one person saying, hey, please give me this money.
Mm-hmm.
And people pool all the money for them. And it's easy to do with fiat. But there isn't this example of a push mechanism, which is more, I want to see something done, and a lot of other people want to see that done. And so we're all going to pool money together, and then anybody can claim it. Anybody, anywhere in the world, right? There isn't always going to be a single person you have in mind. You just want to say, I want to see this thing done. So the big example that we just recently did, we broke the world record for kickflips in 1 minute, which was this $30,000 bounty that was put together. I talked to some people on Farcaster and the Haberdashery DAO. I said, hey, I want to do this fun experiment and just see if we can break a world record. And they put in $10,000. And then Josic from DGen, he put in another $20,000. And then Dave Baczynski, this professional skateboarder, we didn't say that it has to be Dave Baczynski that does it. We just put this money out there in the world. We said anybody can come grab this if they do it. He did it. He got approved by Guinness. He put in a claim. We confirmed it. So there's this big story of, like, hey, this decentralized crowdfund of money uh, pushed this human achievement. It's a kickflip world record. Most kickflips in 1 minute. It's not the biggest achievement in human history, but for me, this is fun because it's a different type of incentivization model where nobody ever, like POIDH, my app, it's completely non-custodial. Nobody ever
Mm-hmm.
controlled that $30,000 up until it was released to Dave, because of the way this mechanism works, right? So yeah, that's my very my very nerdy explanation of what POIDH is, and why I think it's important. And it's different than this SEO career I've been involved in, but at the end of the day, I'm doing it because I do think it's something where it leans on the unique properties of crypto to create a use case that isn't possible with normal money. And just to loop in what I was saying at the very beginning, I think that a lot of times in the industry, we're not focused on building something uh, that's actually going to have an audience out there. We're just strapping crypto to a random idea. So yeah, that's the backstory.
Okay, we'll have to put the website. I'll get that from you. It actually sounds super
Yeah.
fun. I don't know if you remember when a DAO made beer. Do you remember?
I, I don't remember a DAO making beer. I remember Constitution DAO.
Yeah, I
That
mean
was that's
that
the
kind
big
of
one.
stuff, right? Like, so we did. So Raid Brewed came out of Raid Guild and Metacartel, and pulled some money together and brewed and canned a beer with custom art on the can and an NFT. Like that, and then they did another one that was an NFT. But like now the DAO is kind of dormant, kind of
Mm-hmm.
fallow. But people do want beer, so it'd be fun to use POIDH to tell the brewmaster, okay, we're ready, make us some more
Yeah,
beer.
yeah. Actually, that's a really good one where I could see if somebody wanted a beer to be brewed with a certain, like, arbitrary combination of things. Like you could put out a DAO could put out this bounty, and then it's open for any brewmaster in the world, right? Like a brewmaster just finds it and they do it and they claim the bounty and they get it. And I think, yeah, what's appealing to me about POIDH, I call them micro DAOs, right? Because I think something that happens with a lot of DAOs is they pool money for an arbitrary cause, and then we see this like it just happens naturally with any group of humans. Like there's antipathy seeps in, and people start not caring as much as they used to, and it's almost, I guess the term would be like a zombie DAO.
Yeah.
Right. And it keeps going, and there's maybe a couple people left running it, and it there's no finite endpoint, and that's what I like about POIDH is people pool money. You're trying to do one very clear goal, right? It has to be something that it's a you have a very clear, defined. This is what we're going to do, and when it's done, it's done. The person gets paid out, and there's a nice little memento in the form of the NFT. But that's it. And if people want to do more stuff, they can raise money for another thing. But it isn't always forming a new group that has a completely undefined end period, right? And I think that matters because we've had so many DAOs that they just. I mean, I'm still in Discords for DAOs that are supposed to be active, maybe, possibly, but they're all formed in 2021, and nobody's messaged for a very long time, right? And I want to avoid those sort of setups.
Yeah, I have definitely been the ops person giving a DAO hospice before. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, can I ask you nerdy governance questions then, since we're
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I love nerdy.
Okay, so when you launch the campaign, whoever contributes, do they have a say in like validating who completed it, and is like, so how is the so who gets to decide who has the governance shares? Like, is there rage quit? Like, if you put the money in and you disagree with how it's going to be validated, can you rage quit before it's distributed? Just kind of like those kinds of things. And also, like, is it are you always a member of this POIDH campaign forever? Just now the money has been distributed, so it's empty. Or is it actually like burned?
Yeah. So the way that it works, let me give the example of the skateboarding bounty, right? Because this was the highest profile one where I felt really good. Where it's like, we secured $30,000 from multiple contributors and it didn't get exploited.
Yeah.
Right? And so the way that it works is that, and it's a problem I had to work through in my head for a very long time, because you think about this. How do you allow people to pool $30,000? And how do you allow anybody in the world to put a claim on that $30,000 without somebody stealing it? Because if you just did pure, how do you select the winner, right?
Yeah.
The way that most people would design it would be that the winner is selected by whoever has the majority of funds put into the bounty, right? And so if we had this $30,000 bounty, well, we're dealing with permissionless systems. Somebody's going to come in, they're going to put in 60,000, and they're going to select themselves as the winner, and boom, they just won $30,000.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, that would be very quickly exploitable. But at the same time, and maybe another solution, right? People would have said, well, POIDH can be the arbiter, right? But I'm trying to build permissionless systems. I'm trying to build decentralized stuff. That's why I'm in this industry. I care about, no centralization, and I don't want to be the arbiter of all these questions, right? So no, that's out the window. So the solution that I have is that the bounty creator is the one who nominates a claim for vote. Okay. So I was the bounty creator of the skateboarding bounty. I created it with $100. Okay. So I was by no means the top contributor because other people put in $10,000 and $20,000. However, I was the person who was able to. I was that safety mechanism, right? Of like, I get to nominate somebody, but let's consider the situation where I was a bad person and I'd been setting up this. This was going to be my exit scam, right? I was going to convince people to put $30,000 in, and then I was going to put a claim from a separate wallet. I was not going to do the kickflips. I was just going to say, "Peace. I nominate me as the winner." POIDH is designed so that every time a winner is selected or nominated by the bounty creator, a 48-hour voting window opens up. And during that time, the people who contributed get to vote whether or not they agree with what the bounty creator, the claim that the bounty creator submitted. Right. And so if I had tried to do that, it would have been trivially easy for the people who contributed, who have far greater voting shares, right? They have 99% voting power. They'd be able to vote no. And once that 48-hour voting period had ended, the bounty would have reset and they would have been able to withdraw their funds.
Mm.
Right? And so that's the rage quit ish mechanism,
Mm-hmm.
right? Is they can stop if they have majority voting share, they can stop a payout at any point, and then they can withdraw their funds, and then they can also withdraw their funds at any point, even beforehand, right? So even before I submit a claim for voting, if Josic had lost faith in me to find somebody to break this kickflip world record, he could have taken his $20,000 out and said, "Hey, Kenny, sorry, like I don't. You as bounty creator, you're not doing a good job of getting this task done. I'm going to go put this money somewhere else."
Mm-hmm.
And that's fine. It's permissionless, and he could have taken the money out at any time. So, yeah, that's the mechanism there. I'd love to hear your thoughts about it. If you're somebody that thinks about these sort of things. Usually, I talk to people about this, and their eyes glaze over. But I love talking about the mechanism design behind it.
Yeah, my christening into crypto was DAOs. So I used to write for DAO House. Um,
Oh, nice.
so
Love
yeah,
it.
Chones is very like governors. Yeah, this is I mean, so it's cool because having a time period, because I know like we've experimented before with like, okay, let's do it really fast, or like let's hold time, but also there's like the opt-in issue. I think like one of the issues that I have with nouns is um, you buy an NFT and you think you're part of a community, but it actually has governance rights, and people don't know what to do with that or even where to find it. And having a way to see like, oh, this is what this like, I'm not just putting my money in, but I'm actually having a say in where that money goes. Is cool. And then having that time period where you know that you can exit. And so it's like having a period of time where you can exit gives like almost like more attention to the campaign, because now you know like you can you can signal that this is cool, but also like, you know, the skin in the game thing is like you still have a way to kind of do due diligence along the way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important. You talk about you want people want to know that they have an impact,
Mm-hmm.
and so many of the DAOs that I see out there, they're just so broad. And it's like, yeah, you can buy in, but it's to have a tangible like, oh, I made an impact on this thing. It's so hard to do unless
Mm-hmm.
you grind in the Discord and really play
Mm-hmm.
politics.
Yeah.
And nothing against that. A lot of DAOs have done a lot of great things, but for me, I wanted to make something where people are able to see that direct impact so much faster. Right? I had somebody made a bounty where it was a $20 bounty, and it was for somebody. It was after base app released, and they wanted somebody. There was a demo during that where you could go pay for Chipotle, like via the base app. There was a
Mm-hmm.
mini app, and so somebody made a $20 bounty for somebody to actually go do that. And then a bunch of people piled in. It became a $200 bounty really quick, and it got done overnight. And people loved it. Like it was a nice, yeah. Somebody recorded themselves going to Chipotle and eating, right? And they got this little piece of content out of it. And I think that there's something powerful to that, in that you're having these little crowd funds, and you put $5 in, and then the thing gets done quickly, and you got to vote on it. And you didn't have majority voting share, but you still had some ownership over this thing. And yeah, I think that can bring a lot more good vibes around a crypto product versus this disenchantment a lot of
Mm-hmm.
people feel when they join DAOs. And the dream was that they would get stuff done in a decentralized way.
Mm-hmm.
It became so hard to get things done. And I think it's powerful to give people the ability to get things done, even if it's small stuff. Even if they just put $2 in and it incentivized somebody to take a picture of a tree, that matters more because something got done, and they can draw that line of connection.
I think we could use Bankless as like the perfect example of just like this huge thing with like subgroups and guilds and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And like, even when you try and break off and try and have like teams, it's still a giant ship that's really hard to turn directions.
Yep.
This makes so much sense to me. Also, now we were talking about SEO, so I'm like, this would be the funnest like thing to put into a brand campaign. To put a bunch of like POIDs out that are just encouraging people to. It's like the rewards on Farcaster. Like if instead
Mm-hmm.
you said, okay, this is the specific thing this is the type of content I want right now, and
Yep.
a brand can actually fund it, and the community then you can also get signaling from the community too, because if community starts putting contributing funds to the campaign, then you know that it's not just the brand saying, oh, this is what I want, it's actually like the whole community
Mm-hmm.
wants it. Yeah, I love this
Yeah,
idea,
and
it's super fun.
thank you, thank you. And we use it to market ourselves, right? A lot of what you'll find if you see my posts, I'll like post POIDH everywhere, and it'll usually be like a picture of something, and somebody's written POIDH on it, right? And I did these silly campaigns around. There were these small like $3 bounties for people to write POIDH on an egg, or draw a camera on an egg, and then take a picture of it in some
Yeah.
grass. And it's my way. I'm getting UGC for not a lot, $3 here and there. It's basically I take my Farcaster rewards and I just put it back into bounties for
Mm-hmm.
people, right? And the trade-off is I get images that are unique and fun that I can market the app with, and these people are getting real money. And yeah, I think we've yet to have a brand really embrace it and really lean into it. But I'm trying to do it more myself. I just loaded up we have these what we call albums, and albums are our version of subreddits, right? So you can go
Mm.
to poidh.xyz/a/skating, and you'll see all the skateboarding bounties, right? But I have the POIDH album within POIDH, which is /a/POIDH, and that's just full of bounties where it's silly things like say this is for POIDH and then do a front flip on video, right? Or
Mm-hmm.
say this is for POIDH and then make a 3-point shot, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all these become marketing resources and
Mm-hmm.
potential viral clips that I
Mm-hmm.
can lean back into and continue to share.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's been fun. It's been a long way to build it to this point, because it's not my full-time thing. I'm still an SEO consultant, and I do this on the side, and I work with freelancers, and I've been lucky enough to get some grants to just keep building it slowly, piece by piece.
Mm-hmm.
But it does really feel like it's starting to come together, where it is a usable enough and bug-free enough app that that marketing marketing teams could start to use this as a tool
Mm-hmm.
to incentivize visual content around their brands.
Yeah, super cool. I definitely will probably play around with it.
Yeah,
I
sweet.
really appreciate this conversation. You, of course, as I expected, definitely brought insight. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This was super fun. Always down to chat SEO. If anybody's listening to this and they got questions, feel free to ping me. Just ping me on Farcaster and tag me in a conversation. I love chatting about this stuff. I love that Farcaster people are generally open, or also Twitter. I'm on Twitter too. It seems like the more in-depth conversations happen on Farcaster these days. So that's probably the best spot. But yeah, I really appreciate you reaching me out and being open to chat about this stuff and about POIDH stuff. But yeah, I'm an open book for these sorts of things. So yeah, it's been very fun.